Nargacuga. Nargacuga is a classic fan favorite, also known as the red afterglow in the darkness of the Sea of Trees. Nargacuga is a monster I hold very close to my heart as an all-time favorite. I'm very happy to be able to present this build to all of you. I'm really proud of it, actually. As always, the instructions and parts list for this model and the subspecies are available under the second tier membership on my Patreon. That's right, Green Nargacuga, Lucent Nargacuga, and even Frontier's Blinking Nargacuga are also available. All of my instruction packs come with a file that automatically builds a shopping cart of the pieces you need to build this monster through the #1 LEGO resale website, bricklink.com. As always, there will be some slight differences between this physical model and the digital model you'll see in the instructions. But of course, the digital model in the instructions is always the best version of this model. This Nargacuga model takes influence from the Monster Hunter Stories version, mainly for the slightly larger head and the simplified color blocking. Now, Nargacuga has a blue sheen to his fur. The fur is sometimes stylized as a very dark navy blue. Ultimately, I decided on using black as the main color, because LEGO's navy blue has less part options and is still, I think, too bright for Nargacuga. Now, let's do a quick size comparison. Here is a stand-in hunter, and as you can see, although he's a little bit big, he's about the right size for how big Nargacuga is in-game. When Nargacuga was introduced, he was in the portable games, and a lot of the monsters felt smaller in the portable games. But if you look at Monster Hunter World, you'll see that Nargacuga is meant to be bigger, and that's just because of how the camera works and how big they made the monster in the player model and all that. But this is about accurate. For funsies, here is a random Bionicle to compare against large action figures, as well as Rathalos to compare against another monster. And as you can see, he's about the same size as Rathalos as he should be, because both these flying wyverns are meant to be roughly the same size. Rathalos just has like a bulkier silhouette, so he always looks bigger, but they are roughly the same size. For a further comparison, here is a Kelby, the main prey animal of the Nargacuga, and you can very easily make Nargacuga hunt the Kelby. This Nargacuga model is designed for play in mind. The points of articulation are sturdy and deliberate to ensure that he holds his pose while you play around with him for the most part. You can easily make him jump around like he does in-game. There's very few spots on this Nargacuga model that are actually I would consider fragile, so he's wonderful to play with. As for posability, his tail has a lot of motion to it. You can have it up, you can have it down, side, side. His legs are on ratcheted joints. You can do that one pose where he's sitting. Of course, his mouth can open and close. And his wing blades can open up and you can see the dark red membranes. Nargacuga is not much of a flyer, so I didn't really bother to make it so his wings can flap, because he doesn't really do that to begin with. I really like my use of the fur tuft pieces on the back to make it look like he's actually kind of fluffy. The most difficult part of the model for me to perfect was the head. It took me a couple days to figure it out, but ultimately I'm very satisfied with it and the entire model overall. I'm actually really proud of this model, and I think it's one of the best ones I've done. So overall, this Nargacuga model will hold its shape, and it can do a lot of different poses, which is really, really great, and would be great on your shelf if you're looking for a LEGO Nargacuga model. Now for my quick thoughts on Nargacuga in the actual games. Nargacuga is a wonderful predator monster that doesn't rely on a lot of crazy magical abilities to be cool. He just uses his claws and his tail and other physical attacks, which is cool and kind of rare in a game like Sunbreak. I agree with many that Nargacuga has become a rather reliable monster to hunt. Basically, that once you've mastered him in one game, you've mastered him in every game, and he hasn't really changed much. In Rise, it's very apparent that Nargacuga doesn't keep up well with the hunter anymore. I think a game like World suits Nargacuga better. Nargacuga is another one of those flagship monsters that's lost its flagship notoriety and is basically treated like a regular monster these days. It's a shame because he has the potential to be a wonderful monster to drive a real narrative. There's also a lot of potential to expand on his AI and moveset, like having Nargacuga use the trees to stalk and attack the player. like he did in the cutscene. Like many monsters, Nargacuga needs a map designed for him, rather than him just being added to a map that was designed for other monsters. I really love Nargacuga's aesthetic design overall. I really like the sounds he makes, the color scheme. I think the glowing eyes are really cool, and I don't think they're too flashy in comparison to something like Magnum Aloe. I think he makes perfect sense as a predatory wyvern in the game universe, and his music theme is fantastic. I love it so much. I like Green Nargacuga in principle, but I don't think I would ever rank any of his variants in my favorites list. Lucent and the Frontier Nargacugas, and the other Nargacugas like the water one, are way too silly for my taste. I like the simple, jet black, wing blades, physical attack, normal Nargacuga. And that's everything. As always, the instructions for this monster and the subspecies are available on my Patreon. I want to thank everyone for watching. Special thanks to my patrons. Thank you so much for the support. I've gained so many of you so fast, and it's really meant the world to me. It's really helped me to be able to make more of these models for all of you so I can get through every single monster in Monster Hunter. It's going to take a while, but we'll get through all of them. Alright, so, next time. What's the next monster I'm going to do? Well, it's another fan favorite. I gotta get through a lot of these flagships because I know you're all asking for it. I was going to do Tigrex next, but I felt I just did a Flying Wyvern, so I'm going to do a detour. I'm going to do a Brute Wyvern instead. Glavins. Stay tuned, everybody.